Alright, hey travelers, Chris here. This is my review of the first class lounge in Narita, Tokyo. I was pretty excited to try out this lounge, coming from a couple of experiences with the Cathay first class lounge in Hong Kong, the Thai Air first class lounge in Bangkok, and for example the Concorde room in actually in London Heathrow for British Airways. So I was pretty excited. My hopes were also pretty high because the lounge was just renovated over the last 2 years, so I was really excited to see what they actually came up with. And you can see it here already. There's kind of a separate counter for the first class lounge that you go to, and the lounge is really perfectly located right after the security control, so you can really go there straight away and relax. So the location is super nice. Obviously it's their home base, so you would kind of expect that. In terms of access for the first class lounge, you have to be either a One World Emerald member or a Japan Airlines first class, or I believe they call it Diamond, member to get access, or of course you have to be on a first class flight with any of the One World member airlines. Once you've checked in, then you can see here already you actually take the elevator to another floor, and it actually grew my excitement. I was really hyped because looking at the pictures online, it looked like they had a lot of exciting, fun things to do. So let's see if that is actually the case. So here we are. This is the brand new first class lounge at Narita Airport of Japan Airlines. And first of all, I really like what they did with the colors. It's really bright. You can see it here. You have the white tiles, you have gold elements and rather light wooden colors. I think this fits super nicely, and it also kind of reflects this Japanese style that you can see all over the country. And I think design-wise, they really hit the nail on the head there. You can see that right now it's also very empty. This might still be due to COVID impacts to the airport, to the country itself, but I noticed that later on actually a lounge filled up a bit more. You have this one basically gigantic room. You can see it here. I'm walking through it. They actually have seating for quite a lot of people, so I assume they are anticipating a lot of traffic and a lot of travelers coming in. And here, this is actually the little highlight. This area, you actually to the left have a little sushi counter. I'll show you more of that later, where you can actually get some fresh handmade sushi, and that is really nice. Overall, yes, it's modern. Unfortunately, you don't have as many windows, so with this design, I guess they were limited a bit by this. They only have a little bit of sunlight coming in, a little bit of windows actually to the back, and I'll show a bit of that later. But overall, very happy with it. You can see the design is really nice, and I changed positions a couple of times to kind of take in the atmosphere of the entire lounge, although it was still a bit odd that I was, I think, at the beginning the only one there. And you can see that also the sushi chefs were not overly busy at that time, but it looked nice. You had fast internet, and it overall gave a really good atmosphere. And unfortunately the sunlight is a little bit limited. You can see it here to the right, a couple of windows. Unfortunately the blinds were down, but the view was actually not that spectacular. There's also another area that's a bit more of a lounge area, as you can see here. And again, there's a bit of more of a view at this kind of working area in the corner, besides these relaxing chairs. But still, it's unfortunately not quite up to par with some of the other offerings of other airlines and other airports. Besides the building and the setting and the hard product, of course you want to know how the food is, what the offering is, and also what kind of beverages they offer. I was definitely eager to try out the sushi, because that's basically the highlight of the Japan Airlines first class lounge, that you get these two guys to make you fresh sushi when you order them. The ordering process is quite easy. There's actually just a QR code that you can use on any table. You scan it, and there's an app going up. I think it is browser based, and you can kind of read up a little bit more on the lounge, but mainly you can actually order some food. It was a bit tedious at first because you need to scan the code on your ticket, but it worked quite well, and you basically get this kind of menu then, and you can see a little bit the options that they are offering. Now for me, I was mainly interested in the sushi, but I also opted for some breakfast to begin with. This app is actually quite nice. You can read up a little bit more on the lounge, I believe. They also show you what kind of drink options they have, who selected them. Pretty much an interesting kind of read if you like to. And of course it is in English as well as Japanese, so there's no issues. Coming then to the food. Now this was actually my first try. This is a granola pudding, fruits and a croissant that they offered. And it was quite good, although I have to say that the croissant was very dry, but besides that the fruits were delicious. On the other hand, I of course also had to try the sushi. You can see them here. I already ate one slice, but you can order unlimited sushi. They always come, or it seems they come usually in sets of 3, but you can also select which of the 3 tastes or flavors you want, and you can also simply select individual ones. There are some more meals, of course. You have some ramen based broths, you have salads and whatnot, but I believe that the sushi was the highlight. And as someone living in Japan, I have to say that this is quite up to par with some of the very good sushi I had. So this is definitely a very enjoyable meal. However, I have to say I didn't want to spoil my appetite completely because I had a flight to catch afterwards. So this was very good, and definitely a thumbs up on the food. One smaller thing is I don't like that they use these kind of cheap looking wooden chopsticks, these like one-time usage ones. I guess due to COVID this makes sense, but it just doesn't feel as premium. Now of course I also had to try the champagne and sparkling wine selection, even though it was 8 AM, but this is for science, so I tried actually 2 of them. The first one is this Ferrari Maximum Blanc de Blanc Brut, which is a sparkling wine, which was actually surprisingly good for being a regular sparkling wine. There was also a champagne on tap, which is this Joseph Perrier Champagne, and this was quite good actually. I'm not big on champagne, but I do enjoy a good glass of it, and this felt quite good. But to be honest, looking at also the wine and the spirit selection, the entire offering did not feel as premium as I experienced it in other lounges. And now of course this sounds like a kind of a first world problem, but to be honest, this should be a bit better because other airlines offer a better experience there. Besides that, of course, there's some work areas. As I showed you earlier, I actually tried to get some work done. You have power plugs, of course, everywhere, and you can see here also the view onto the runway, which is rather a bit disappointing, but I guess it gets the job done. In this little work and relaxation area, you also have drinks on hand at self-service. As you can see here, the infamous Japanese beer draft machines, wine and spirits, of course, as well as this little bit of food, which seemed a bit out of place because they did not have it in the main room, but it was definitely interesting. Now, of course, as mentioned, you have power plugs. You even have a Ethernet cable connection, which I found quite interesting. And you also have, as a tiny little highlight, these 2 Japanese kind of massage chairs. Unfortunately, I could not manage to set the language to a different language, to English mainly, so I was a bit struggling to operate it, and at times it felt a bit weird how the chair was clamping on my legs, but overall it's nice to have, I guess, but it felt also a bit out of place. It again did not feel as premium as other airlines. So what's the conclusion then for me? I believe that the lounge cannot quite hold up with some other first-class lounges of other airlines such as British Airways, Thai Air or Cathay Pacific. It's a good experience, and they definitely have some little specialty with the handmade sushi that you can order. But besides that, I believe that especially the drink selection was a bit disappointing and didn't quite hold up to other first-class lounges. The rooms, the hard product was okay. Of course, it was very new, but it definitely felt more like a nice business class lounge than a proper first class lounge. I'm very curious to see how the Haneda Japan Airlines first class lounge compares, and I can't wait to actually try it out and also let you know. But for now, this has been my experience. Overall, of course, if you're at Narita and you have access to that lounge, give it a try. It's definitely a nice place to be. If you've been there, let me know. I would be curious to hear your impressions. And this is it from me, and I'll talk to you in the next one. So cheers.